Hello, boys and girls, and those who sexually identify as a lawn chair. Today we got a very special video. We're gonna watch a 1%er defend himself. Crazy, right? I'm surprised this guy didn't get shot during this interview, to be honest. Should be fun to watch. Let's watch it, shall we?
All right, this is Peter Schiff, and I've come down here to Occupy Wall Street to represent the 1% and see if I can have a dialogue with the other 99%, maybe see if we can find some common ground, and maybe I can help educate the people to direct their protests to the more appropriate source, because it's my opinion that they shouldn't be here occupying Wall Street. They should be in Washington occupying Pennsylvania Avenue. They should be protesting in front of the White House, in front of the Federal Reserve, in front of Congress, in front of the Supreme Court, not down here protesting capitalism. Capitalism is the only solution that they have to their problems. It's not capitalism that has failed them. It's socialism, it's corporatism, it's crony capitalism, it's fascism. That is the problem. Capitalism is the solution if we can only fully embrace it.
All right, I'll let you make your case.
Anyway, we got a few people around here, and I'm wondering who in particular would like to address any of their grievances.
Ballsy, ballsy.
So what's your name?
My name is Derek Brown, and I'm speaking from another perspective. We're meshing. It's people apparently from all states, nations, genders,
Where are you from,
colors,
Derek?
and creeds. I'm from the Bronx.
Okay.
Okay. I have this thing that, imagine, compassionate capitalism. Is there such a thing? Could there be such a thing?
Well, it's the most compassionate system I know, by definition.
Your definition being coming from the 1%. Now, I have no problem with you having money.
Watch him later having a problem with him having money.
The problem is, but my thing is, if you make 100 million, imagine how many jobs could be created if you just made 50 million.
Well, in a capitalist society where people are free to spend their money where they want. Let me finish 1 second. The way a capitalist gets rich is to figure out what the consumers want and give it to them, and do it at a less expensive price at a better quality. So the way a capitalist gets rich is by enriching everybody else.
Oh my God, that was so beautifully said.
Listen, now, when I say compassionate capitalism, I'm talking about this. People who make allowances for those who have not.
But what you're forgetting is, if I make 100 million, I had to create a lot of jobs to make that money. That's the point. When the capitalist is making
there's a
money,
thing called greed.
And you clearly have it, because you want to take, by force, through government, other people's money. That is greedy.
And the problem with
well, we all greedy. Everybody.
No, we're not.
Well,
you cannot say that we're all greedy.
Well,
you cannot.
Well, don't you want things
greedy.
for yourself?
So it's greedy to want to keep your own money, but it's not greedy wanting to take other people's money via the force and threat of government?
And just so you know, how much of my total income right now do you think the government takes every year from me? How much do you think?
Listen,
but just guess.
I'm oblivious.
But give me a guess.
But there's other people that need to.
Does anybody here want to guess what percentage of my income the government takes from me right now?
Why we're here?
Huh? That's pretty close.
We don't play a guessing game. We have
No.
data. Give us your data.
No, but the government takes
How much do you
40.
make?
Doesn't matter what I make. The
No,
government
we
takes
wanna
half
know.
of it.
We
At
wanna know.
every dollar I earn, I get to spend 45 cents. The government spends 55 cents. So the government's already taken more than half my money. I don't know how much more.
So where do you stand concerning?
And they want to take more of his money, and they call him greedy. Wait a second, what did he say earlier?
But my thing is, if you make 100 million, imagine how many jobs could be created if you just made 50 million.
So what if he made half, and the government took the other half? You mean what already happens to 1%ers? So this perfect socialist paradise that you think should exist already exists, and it fails. It doesn't create jobs. It makes things worse. Why is that? Maybe you should open up your mind and listen to what this guy has to say.
I don't lobby anybody.
Where do you stand concerning our plight?
I feel for your plight. I wish that we had a more vibrant economy. The problem is the government is taxing and regulating the economy to death. The government is not letting capitalism work. You guys are protesting all the bailouts on Wall Street. I was with you. I was against the bailouts even before they were proposed. I knew these banks were going to fail. I wanted them to fail. I didn't want the government to bail them out. That's not capitalism. Capitalism would have let the banks fail. A lot of people on Wall Street would have lost their jobs if we had capitalism. Instead,
the United States.
Government is the reason Wall Street has the power it has.
it would have been in better shape. We would have taken the medicine.
The world economy would have survived.
Without the government bailouts, absolutely. The economy is in trouble because of the government.
I'm here, I've been observing this for a few days. I'm actually from a libertarian mindset. I know you background, Paul, and a lot of that sort of stuff. I've actually been amazed how much overlap I saw. I saw a lot of end the Fed stuff. I saw a lot of things that actually overlap where I thought I was walking into a leftist movement. Do you see this as a left-wing movement, or do you see this more as a populist, apolitical movement?
Well, I think that people, especially young people, have a right to be pissed off because
I'm
they're
paying
getting
Social Security. I'm paying all this stuff.
Well,
I'll never
not only
see.
that, look, we've sold the young generation short.
Yeah.
We've put them through these government schools. We've loaded them up with debt. One of the problems people want is the forgiveness of the student loans. Why are there all these student loans? It's because the government guaranteed them. If the government minded its own business, then nobody could get a student loan.
Well, there's never been a monopoly without government involvement.
No, but my point is, if it wasn't for the government, college would be cheap. The tuitions would be low. It's only because the government subsidizes it and guarantees the loans. But who gets the shaft here? It's the kids. The colleges get all the money, and they stick the kids with the bill. They graduate with these worthless degrees with $100,000 or more in debt, and they can't get a job. And if they get a job, they're paying massive taxes. They're paying Social Security taxes to support a generation that voted in this Ponzi scheme before any of these people were born. They're paying income taxes. If there's anything left, they got to pay back their student loans, and they can't even discharge them in bankruptcy, and if they die, their parents are stuck with them.
Exactly.
So I think, I think
the blame on government.
Of course, the government did it.
Well,
It's not all the blame of the government.
Well, who else did it?
You
Who
guys
guaranteed
work together. You guys are part of the
No,
same team.
Wall Street is. I agree.
Who lobbies?
No, you're right.
lobbies government?
But why are there lobbyists? Why are lobbyists successful? Because government has power and influence. The problem is the government. If the government couldn't dole out special favors and subsidies, there would be no lobbyists. So what you've got to do is take the power away from government and bring it back to the people.
You guys would own.
Yes, exactly. You have given the government control of your rights. Now they could sell your rights away to the corporations in exchange for money and allow the corporations to control your rights and exploit you.
No, then we'd have freedom. Then we'd be a wealthy country like we used to be before the government came in and screwed it all up.
That is so true. Look at the United States when it first started off. Everybody was wealthy as fuck before the government's involvement. Now what happened? Everybody's losing their jobs and we're $20 trillion in debt.
We created the wealthiest society that the world had ever seen. The standard of living, you go back to 1950, the average American had a standard of living nobody could match anywhere in the world. That's not true today because we don't lead the world in freedom. We lead the world now in big government and regulation and central banking. That is the problem. We have to go back to the Constitution. We have to go back to our roots.
I seriously cannot agree with this guy more.
Of course, but why? Well, because but the government made it so expensive to hire Americans. That's the problem. All the taxes, all the laws, minimum wage, occupational licensing, payroll taxes, unemployment taxes, all the potential litigation. The government has made it so expensive and so risky to hire. Look, I hire people, right? And a lot of times I'm reluctant to hire people. I try to avoid it because the problem is the government makes it too expensive. I know a lot of small businessmen that do everything they can not to hire people because they don't want the headache from the government. They don't want the legal liability. They don't want the government dragging them into court and suing them because they don't think they hired somebody the right way, or maybe they fired them for the wrong reason. The government is looking over the shoulder of every businessman, and it is hard enough to start a business without the government complicating it with taxes and regulations.
Also, 80,000 pages of regulations makes it real hard to start a business.
When people start a small business, they put it all on the line. It's their money. They have to pay everybody first. They pay their employees, they pay their rent. They only make money if there's something left over. and the government makes it very hard, so people don't start businesses, and if they do, they try not to hire people because they can't take the cost. And if businesses are moving their jobs, I recently set up a bank in the Caribbean. I'm moving some of my employees to Singapore. I would rather keep all my employees here, but I don't have a choice. The government is making me uncompetitive. The rules and regulations are so expensive that the only way I can stay in business is to move part of my business to other countries.
Bingo. He doesn't want to do it. He is forced to do it.
You know, but I would rather do all my business here if it weren't for the government.
Put the mic in front of him when you speak. I think it's the corporations that get greedy and decide that, oh, why we pay someone $8 an hour if we can get someone for 50 cents an hour in India? And that's why
it has
we move
to do
over,
with
not
total
because of
productivity.
government.
First of all, the corporations are just people. It's people that own stock, right? And if you go back to the 1950s, for example, America paid the highest wages in the world, much higher than we do today. Yet we produced the cheapest stuff. Our products cost less than products produced anywhere else in the world, and so we sold them all around the world. Why? How was it that we could pay the highest wages but produce the lowest cost stuff? It was because we had more capital. We had more capital because we had lower taxes and fewer regulations. So we gave our workers tools and machines to make them more productive. We don't have that anymore. We are not as productive as other countries. That is the problem. But you have to ask yourselves why. How did we have such a huge lead, and how did we blow it? What did we do wrong? And what we did wrong was more government, more rules, more regulations, more taxes that made us less competitive. That's why the jobs are gone.
Okay, boys, girls, and those who sexually identify as attack helicopters. That was the first 12 minutes of the interview. The real interview is 2 hours long, and you could look for the link in the description box. I highly recommend you watch the full video. It is amazing.